Was yours back?
Yes.
And is the stick ready?
Yes.
Thanks, ready? Ms. Ball? Let's go ahead and have the jurors return to the jury box. Please continue.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Banks, I'm going to show you some previously marked State Exhibit 170 for identification purposes. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes.
And what do you recognize this to be?
It's an email from Jennifer attaching pictures of Joseph holding Layla.
Okay. And is this an email that you printed out and provided? Let me ask you this. Do you recognize this email?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time I'd move to admit State Exhibit 170 into evidence.
Admitted.
Now, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Can you read that? Ms. Banks,
Yes.
and can you go ahead and tell us the date?
October 13th, 2015,
And and who is this email from?
from Jennifer to me.
And what does it say?
After midnight and refusing to sleep, LOL. Oh, and apparently she was 100% totally and completely a daddy's girl, to the point that she goes around saying it over and over and over. So tired, LOL, letting daddy handle this while I hit the hay.
And was there a series of attachments on that email?
Yes,
Do you see some of those attachments at the bottom of that email?
yes,
I'm going to show you what's been previously admitted to State 153. I'll zoom back out a little for you, okay? Is this one of the attachments that was in that previous email?
I think so, yes.
I can show it to you again if you'd like.
Yeah, that's the one on the bottom.
Okay. And again, what is the date on that particular, on the photo?
September 15th.
I want to show you what's been previously marked as States 171 and 172. Do you recognize these two documents?
There are emails between myself and Jennifer.
And have we already discussed some of the content of that email here today?
Oh, yes.
And do you recognize these emails?
Yes,
And where do they come from?
from Jennifer.
Your Honor, I'd move into evidence States 171 and 172.
Admitted. 171, 172.
I want to show you page 2. Do you see kind of where that little mark is?
Yes.
All right. What date is that from? What date is that from?
September 20.
And who is writing who?
I sent to Jennifer.
And what did you email Jennifer? If you could read it to us.
Sounds like she feels guilt. Hope the counselor can help with that.
And did Ms. Rosenbaum respond?
She says, me too. I don't want her to feel bad about loving us.
I'm going to show you page 172. Do you see the email exchange at the bottom of that particular page? Do you do you see the email exchange between the two of you, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay. And who's writing who?
Jennifer's writing me
And what's the date of that?
August 30.
And does she ever mention anything about the counselor? I'll just point to you. If you could just read
Yes.
this sentence right here. What does that sentence say?
I just want to help do what is best for them, and if the counselor thinks an adjustment period would be helpful, I'm willing to help make that happen.
Thank you, ma'am. We can bring the lights back up. After Layla passed away, was there ever a period of time where Millie was living with you?
Yes.
And was that immediately after, or kind of tell us when that was?
Immediately after she went back to Miss Lambert's house, I went to my HOA and told them what had happened in light of the fact that Millie wasn't able to stay with me. So they relented and signed a document stating that she could stay with me for a period of up to 2 years. And I took that to DFAX to see if they would let me have her again.
And was there a period of time that she came to live with you?
Yes.
During the time that she lived with you, did you ever have discussions about her time at the Rosenbaum?
Yes.
Now, were you, how did those discussions come about?
I was told by a counselor.
No, object to what she was told by the counsel.
Judge, in this context, it's not going to the truth of the matter asserted. It's simply a matter of as to why she interacted with her great-granddaughter the way that she did.
Still hearsay.
It's not hearsay. It's not
Allow it.
I was advised by counselors, the DA, people in professional status, not to question her, not to bring up the subject, but that if she brought it up, we could discuss it if she felt the need.
Were there ever any times where she did bring it up?
Yes.
If she did bring it up, did you ask a whole lot of questions?
No, not a whole lot.
Or some?
Some.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the things that Millie told you. What did she tell you? What are some of the things she told you about her time living with the Rosenbaum?
She related that when she would sometimes get spankings with a belt. And I said, "Why didn't you tell your Nana?" She said, "Because Jennifer told me if I told you about the spankings, I'd get worse spankings."
Did she ever mention anything else that occurred in the home?
She at one time mentioned, well, she wouldn't eat certain foods from me. She wouldn't eat any kind of potato, baked or scalloped or mashed or otherwise. And I said, "Why? What's the matter with potatoes? You eat French fries?" And she said one time Jennifer had made her eat some nasty tasting potatoes, and it made her sick and she threw it up. And then Jennifer made her eat the throw up.
When she told you that, did you ask her any more questions or let it be?
That was enough.
Did she ever mention anything else that occurred in the home? Let me ask you this, did she ever demonstrate anything that went on in the home?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. She said that Jennifer would grab them by the arm and twist. And Miss Lambert had told me that Millie had a fracture.
Can't talk about what Ms. Lambert said, okay?
Right,
All right.
sorry.
So we're just going to talk about what Millie said.
Okay.
Did Millie
And
tell you anything else?
she said that she would knee them in the stomach, and she demonstrated it if I can do it without falling down. She went right in our tummies.
And that's something that Millie demonstrated herself?
Yes.
Do you remember where you were when she made these various statements?
In my home.
I want to talk a little bit about some of the conversations. Do you recall whether or not any adults had conversations about investigation or anything like that around Millie, to your knowledge?
Not specifically, but it was entirely possible.
And what do you mean by that?
Well, my home is very small. It's got a kitchen, living room, 2 beds and bath. And it's open concept. And if she was in her room playing, you'd think she'd be out of earshot, but she might not be if she wasn't, it'd be possible to have overheard something. We consciously did not do it in front of her, but it's possible.
So you're speculating that it's a possibility, but you don't know.
Right,
correct?
that's right.
You said you consciously did not speak in front of her about the cases, correct?
Right. Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with a website, Justice for Layla?
I've heard about it.
Are you a member?
I'm not even on Facebook.
Okay.
Never done
Did you attend anything that was associated with Justice for Layla?
it. There was a candlelight vigil on Valentine's. Would have been the February after she died in November. And I was present for that.
Let me ask you this, was Millie present?
No.
Now, did you ever take Millie to a therapist?
Yes.
And who was the therapist that you took Millie to?
Her name is Ann McCullough.
And why did you begin taking Millie there?
I had her enrolled in preschool at Hampton First Baptist Academy. And her teacher cornered me one day to tell me that Millie was talking inappropriately about death.
Objection, Your Honor.
Well, if they don't want to hear it, that's fine. Just don't talk about what they said.
Okay. At school, Millie was talking inappropriately about death and disturbing some of the other 4-year-olds.
Your Honor, I think there's an objection to that. An objection as to talking about what somebody told her, and she just proceeded to continue telling what somebody told her.
Well, hasn't this already been admitted? This is the situation that occurred over at the school? All right. Please continue.
Thank you, Judge. When you brought Millie to Ms. McCullough, did you have any specific concerns that you brought to her attention?
The main thing was helping Millie get over the need to talk about death and doing it at inappropriate times and places around other kids. That was the initial.
Was there ever any concern about lying?
I had problems with Millie brushing her teeth. When she would get ready for bed, she would tell me she had brushed them. And then we'd go to bed, and later I would go in the bathroom and discover that her toothbrush wasn't even wet. She hated brushing her teeth for some reason. I had to buy different kinds of toothpaste every time I went to the store, trying to find one she liked, and she didn't like any of them. I think she just didn't want to do it. So she told me she had when she hadn't.
So if you expressed concerns about her lying, was it about things like that?
Yes.
Nothing further this time.
Okay. Cross. All right.
Good afternoon, Ms. Banks. My name is Corinne Mull.
Yes, ma'am.
If I don't speak loud enough, if you could let me know. And if you don't understand my question, if you could ask me to rephrase, please. The family as a whole had a lot of alcohol and drug issues, isn't that correct?
There were 3 people in my family that I knew of that had problems with drugs.
Mother, grandmother of Layla,
Yes,
mother of Layla,
yes.
father of Layla.
Oh, I didn't think of him as a family member.
Well,
Yeah.
sometimes we don't like to, but we have to. Father,
Yes,
father of Millie Place.
yes.
So it's fair to say, Ms. Banks, that it was important to Tessa that her children not be in a home with drug or alcohol abuse, correct?
Yes,
And in fact, she was very firm about not wanting her children to be around drugs, correct?
I guess. I never heard her vocalize it.
You never heard her complain at all about being at the Rosenbaums, did you?
I know she didn't trust Jennifer.
I'm asking you not what you think. I'm asking you, did you ever hear her complain about the Rosenbaums when her daughters were with them?
Yes,
Do you recall that you told Ms. Hicks King, who was doing the investigation into the death of Layla, do you recall telling her that Tessa never complained to Miss Banks about Miss Rosenbaum? Do you remember that?
no, I don't.
Now, you say that there was no problems with behaviors with the children, but isn't it true you told Miss Roberson and Mr. Blunt from DFACS that Millie had behavior problems?
I don't recall that.
Do you recall that you told DFACS that Gina was helpful to you in terms of managing behavior issues? Do you recall telling them that?
No,
You remember talking to the other 2 foster mothers about their problems with the children's behavior?
I would always ask them about them, and I guess I can't tell you what they said.
With regards to your conversation with Detective Thompson,
Mm-hmm.
he came on the scene right at the very beginning of the case.
Yes,
And initially, you told Detective Thompson that Jennifer was a good mother and that the children showed no sign of abuse. Do you remember that?
no, I
You
don't,
don't remember
I
saying
don't
that?
remember the specifics of conversations.
Do you remember saying you had no indication of abuse with Jennifer?
I had no concerns.
Now, after time passed, you contacted him about 30 days later, and you had a whole pile of negative things to say about Jennifer, didn't you?
I remember contacting him after the fact.
And you remember telling him 30 days later that you wanted to tell him about all the things Jennifer had done wrong. Do you recall that?
Not specifically. Do you have a copy of something I can refresh my memory with?
So you, see if this refreshes your recollection.
Yeah, I remember that. Those highlighted areas.
All the areas.
Oh,
I just want you tell me when your recollection's been refreshed? You don't have to read the whole thing, just when your recollection has been refreshed. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Isn't it true that after you had given your first statement saying you had no concerns with Jennifer, that you then contacted him and told him about all the negative things you were now coming up with against her?
I'm sure I told him I had no concerns with her initially.
No, but didn't you, when you first talked to him, when he first came to you, you and your sister both said that there was no concerns of abuse. Isn't that correct?
We never saw her talk to him until after Layla was dead.
Well, of course. But right after she died, when he first initiated the investigation, you told him you had no concerns about abuse.
We were very naive.
Did you tell him
I
that
don't
you had
know
no
specifically.
concerns about abuse?
I can't tell you
Then
what
just
my
say, "I don't
exact
know."
words were.
Did you communicate that to him in any words?
I don't know.
And please, Ms. Banks, feel free to say, I don't know, if you don't know or you don't remember. Now, during those 30 days that went by between the time you made your first statement to Detective Thompson and the time you started making numerous other statements to him, during that month of time, Tessa had hired a lawyer to sue defects. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
And isn't that correct? Isn't it correct that she told you she was going to own defects?
Objection, Judge. Here's
She's staying.
You set out to help her, didn't you?
In what way?
To help her in her quest to sue and own defects.
I didn't have anything to do with that.
Okay. Now, you told Detective Thompson a number of things. You said that you thought Jennifer Rosenbaum was getting paid to take care of your children. Did you ever get that straightened out?
No.
Okay. Are you aware that she was not getting paid?
No.
Now, you said that she never asked you for anything for the girls. Isn't that correct?
No. I mean, yes, it's not. It's correct
That's correct.
that she did not.
She didn't ask you to buy anything for them.
No.
Now, one of the reasons you were given on a certain date why Millie could not visit you was that Millie had to go to counseling. Isn't that correct?
That was one.
That was
One
one
day.
time.
Mhm.
In fact, there were several, there were 2 or 3 times with counseling, correct? Isn't it true, Ms. Banks, that Ms. Warner had asked that they be evaluated?
I
Did you
don't
know that?
I don't know.
Did you know that Millie and Layla were taken for a forensic interview? Do you recall that? They saw a counselor for a forensic interview. That's possible, isn't it?
Yes.
And if those fell on your days, then you couldn't visit with them, could you, if they were going to the counselor? Isn't that right?
I recall one instance where I couldn't visit them because their counselor was coming over that day instead of her regular day. That's all I remember.
Do you have a problem with the children receiving counseling?
Oh, no.
So you didn't mind forfeiting your visit so that the counselor could make her visit, did you?
Just that one time.
Just that one time. In fact, she was evaluated just one time and then a forensic interview, correct?
I don't know.
Now, there came a point in time, isn't it correct, Ms. Banks, that you Millie came back from visits with you and told the Rosenbaums she didn't have to mind, that she didn't have to do what they asked her to do because her Nana had said so, correct?
That's what Jennifer claimed.
And that's what Miss Lambert claimed, isn't it?
Well, they just said that,
Just a yes or no, then you can explain.
okay, I don't know.
And you say you don't know whether Miss Lambert said that as well.
No.
And you don't know whether Miss Brown complained about that as well.
They all said something, but it wasn't that.
Now, these folks were giving your grandchildren a home, correct?
Yes.
And you would talk to Millie and sow discord about the home. Isn't that correct?
I don't have any specific recollections.
As a result of you, let's put it this way, strike that. Miss Brown, Samantha White, there are too many colors here. Samantha White told you that if you did not stop telling Millie that she didn't have to mind, she's going to testify. I can just make Miss Banks come back. She's
All right, sustain the objection.
You knew what would cut off your visitation, but you did it anyway, didn't you?
What?
Tell Millie repeatedly that she didn't have to do what anybody else asked her to do, that you were the Nana and that
No,
was
I never told her anything like that. I never would. I
And if
taught
she
her
could-
to obey, not to disobey.
And if she had told that to various caseworkers, she's lying and you're not.
I just never told her that. That's all I know.
Millie has a problem with telling stories,
No more than any other child her age.
but she has a problem with lying, doesn't she?
Saying she brushed her teeth when she didn't.
Does she have a problem with lying?
I don't know. I haven't been with her for over a year.
Did you, when you had her, did you take her to Dr. Potts and say you were desperate because she was lying?
Why would I say that to Dr.
I'm not
Potts?
asking you why, I'm asking you, did you say that to her?
I don't recall that. That was her physician.
That's correct. Isn't it true, Ms. Banks, that Jennifer's the one that advocated for you to get some visitation? Visitation would have been cut off otherwise.
She said that, but I had no proof of it.
And isn't it true, Ms. Banks, that really Jennifer didn't have to let the great-grandma of her foster children visit? Isn't that correct?
Why would it be up to her?
I'm asking you, do you know that she did not have to allow the visits?
I don't know what she would have to do with allowing visits. That would
I'm
be
asking-
defects.
I'm asking you, did you know that? That she didn't have to allow a great-grandmother, she didn't have to take time out of her schedule to have mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, grandmothers, great-grandmothers visit, correct?
I don't know.
Now, there was one time you complained to Detective Thompson and said that Jennifer did not leave the car seats for you to take Millie and Layla on visitation. Didn't you complain to Detective Thompson about
I
that?
wouldn't call it complaining.
You rejoiced about it.
Not that either.
Okay, what is it then?
I brought it to his attention.
Okay, so you brought it to his attention. Are we on the same page now?
Right?
And when you brought it to his attention, you told him that you were upset because Jennifer had left without leaving the the car seats in the car?
Well, I wasn't happy about it,
Isn't
but
it
anything
true?
can happen.
Isn't it true, Ms. Banks, you're responsible for your own car seats? You had a car seat for Millie.
I had a
didn't
car seat, but
You
I
didn't
didn't
have-
have 2 car seats.
you? You didn't have a car seat for your other granddaughter, Millie,
No,
but Layla. You only had one for
I
Millie.
had 1 car seat.
And so you depended on them to provide you with another car seat for Layla, correct?
Well, she would bring her over in one, and she would pick her up and take her home in one, but I never used it.
So why did you bring it to Detective Thompson's attention that she had gone to school and taken the car with the car seats in it?
Because without the car seats, Joseph couldn't bring the girls to me.
Okay, and so we're back to the fact that you depended on them to bring you Layla's car seat, correct?
No, bring me Layla.
Okay, and,
But you have to have the car seat to do that, and she went off to school with
but
it.
you needed the car seat as well.
I didn't use it. I never took it out of their vehicle and used it and gave it back.
You never used it.
It stayed in their vehicle. If I needed a second car seat, I borrowed one from a friend.
So that time you couldn't have borrowed one from a friend? You went to their house,
He couldn't bring them to me without the car seat. But she told me that they had one somewhere in their garage and he was looking for it. So I figured by the time I drove all the way out there, he would have found it.
in fact, he did go to a friend and get a car
Right.
seat for you, for
Right.
your granddaughter.
Right.
But the one day that she absentmindedly left the seats in the car, you told Detective Thompson she was trying to deprive you of your visitation. Isn't that correct?
I don't recall that.
Now, another excuse you told Detective Thompson about was because you couldn't visit with Layla because she was in a cast and had to be carried everywhere. And Jennifer was concerned about your back.
No, Jennifer told me that I couldn't have a visit with Layla because she was in the cast and I would have had to carry her, and she knew I wasn't able to do that.
So you couldn't see Layla because you weren't able to see Layla, correct?
Right.
That Now, you were invited to the event on the square where Millie was doing her gymnastics routine. You didn't go, did you?
No, I was not able to go that evening.
In fact, you have told all the caseworkers that you could not take Millie and Layla at the same time, correct?
It was difficult for me to handle 2 children with all my disabilities.
Did you tell that to the caseworkers?
I probably did.
Isn't it true that when asked by Cynthia Tate and Tiffany Chapman to babysit Layla, you refused?
If I was unable to take care of her, yes. She was an active toddler and needed a lot of attention, and Millie was more self-sufficient.
They both were fairly active girls, weren't they?
Yes.
They were rough and tumble, weren't they?
Yes.
Isn't it true you never called Cynthia Tate or the Chapmans except when you wanted a babysitter for Millie? Isn't that correct? You never inquired about Layla?
I don't recall.
And isn't it true that while these folks were taking care of your great-grandchildren, you were telling caseworkers that Cynthia was an alcoholic and she was having men in the house, Do you recall that?
I don't recall anything about alcoholism. I didn't know the lady well enough to know her drinking habits.
So it's your testimony that you never said that to the caseworker?
I said I don't recall.
Okay, so you don't remember if you did?
No.
You like to sow chaos.
No. No.
And isn't it true that Tessa, the mother of Layla and Millie, would not let you visit with her other child? Isn't that true? Because you sowed chaos.
What?
Karma.
Carmely?
Isn't it true that Tessa did not let you see karma because
No.
you were always
No.
sowing
No,
chaos?
that's totally untrue. She didn't even have karma. Karma was with foster parents, and Tessa called me up and told me to come over at the date and time that Karma would be there so I could see my new great-grandbaby.
Isn't it true that you told Bridget Frazier, the caseworker, that you were very concerned about Karma and that she has not been allowed to see Karma because the biological mother, Tessa, would not allow her? Didn't you say that to Miss Peggy, Miss Bridget Frazier on 10/25/15?
Would you repeat that?
Did you not tell her that you were very concerned about Karma and that you had not been allowed to see Karma because Tessa would not allow it? Do you recall saying that?
No, I certainly don't, because I did see Karma and Tessa didn't have her.
So the caseworker would be mistaken.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Now, the South Dakota trip,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know if it happened or it didn't, do you?
I highly doubt it.
I'm not asking you whether you had
No.
done it. It's fair to say that you wanted to be included in everything, isn't that correct?
Well, they're my family, and I needed to continue being a part of them.
And there were times when the Rosenbaums needed family time, isn't that correct?
What do you mean?
Needed time on their own.
Away
Without
from each other?
great-grandmother. No,
Oh.
without great-grandmother hanging around.
I didn't hang around.
Show you what I labeled as 115, defendant's 115, and see if you recognize that.
Yes. This was at the Noah's Ark birthday party, which Jennifer told me about and wanted me to come to.
May I tender into evidence defendant's exhibit 115 and publish?
Any objection?
No objection.
Admitted. 115.
Where was this? Where was this picture taken?
At the picnic table area at Noah's Ark,
And what date was that?
October 17th.
If you would, show me where the bruising was on this child.
On the cheek that's away from the camera.
You can see the cheek away from the camera. Do you see any bruising on it?
Can't tell in that photo, it's not large enough.
In fact, you were sitting there very happy in that picture, were you not?
I was glad to see the girls and see them having a good time.
Not like somebody who just seen a big bruise on their granddaughter's cheek.
No, I didn't even notice the bruise at first.
So you didn't notice the bruise until you went home and looked at pictures,
Right.
correct? 30 days after this case ended up in papers and 30 days after your daughter instituted a lawsuit. Isn't that true?
I'm not sure of the date.
Show you what's been marked as Defendant's Exhibit 116 and see if you can identify that.
I don't recognize it.
You don't recognize it.
Where was that taken?
Doesn't matter at this point. If you don't recognize it, you won't use it. Remember Millie and Layla being pulled in a wagon at Noah's Ark?
Yes.
Do you recall now that picture that I just showed you? Is
No. Was that at Noah's Ark?
See if you can look at that and see if they're being pulled by
Oh, yes, they are.
is that at Noah's Ark?
It must have been. I've not been there enough to recognize these buildings.
But that is your granddaughter, your great-granddaughter,
Yes.
Layla, in that picture,
And Millie.
and Millie. Your Honor, this time I would tender Defendant's Exhibit 116 to record as published.
Any objection? Maybe.
You see any bruises on her left-hand side that's facing the camera?
I can't tell in that photo.
You can't tell,
No.
but you don't see any as you're sitting there, do you?
No, this
For the record,
too small and too far away.
Defense Exhibit 116 has been stipulated to have been taken on October 17, 2015. Now, you claim you've seen all these bruises. You said you saw the bruises once on Layla's face, and then the next month you saw more bruises, and you saw a black eye on Layla, correct?
Yeah, yes.
So did you call the police?
No, each time I was assured by Jennifer that Miss White was aware of it and that it was an accident and nobody was concerned.
Did you call Miss White to verify that?
No, I did not.
Did you call DFACS at all?
No, I totally trusted Jennifer.
You take any pictures of her with this black eye you're talking about?
No,
So there are no pictures of her with a black eye that you know of, are there?
I'm not aware of any. I didn't take any. I don't know if anyone else did.
Talking now about the your house.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it true, Miss Banks, that you took the children outside your home? Isn't that correct? They went to the park
Yes,
and they went to the splash pad.
yes,
You took them other places too, didn't you?
yes.
Now, at Noah's Ark, isn't it true that Layla and Millie got out of their costumes and were put in play clothes? Isn't that correct?
I don't remember that.
You don't remember? Now, neither child complained to you about never getting enough to eat, did they?
No, not to me.
In fact, the Lamberts warned you that Lila would stuff food down her mouth and try to swallow. And you had to be careful, didn't you?
I don't remember.
You don't remember. died and you saw Jennifer for the first time, she was crying, wasn't she? You went to console her.
She was visibly upset, as understandably.
And you went to console her.
Yes, I did. I was still naive and I felt bad for her.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. At this time, that's all I have.
Thank you. And redirect.
Very briefly, Judge. Madam Leader. Ms. Mull asked you several questions about having no concerns about the children being in the Rosenbaum's custody. That lasted all the way past Layla's death, correct?
Oh, yes. I mean, sometimes you have 20/20 hindsight, or you remember things in retrospect, or once you get over the trauma, some of your memory comes back.
In fact, before you talked about when you first saw Miss Rosenbaum, you actually ran up to her and hugged her, correct?
Yes.
And you said that you have 20/20 hindsight. When Ms. Mull asked you about the concerns that you brought to Detective Thompson's attention, is that kind of what is that what we're talking about here?
Yes, he had me in his office soon after, I can't remember if it was the first day or the second day, and grilled me, and I was having trouble remembering because of the trauma, and later I recalled things and let him know. He told me, as I thought of more things to let him know, so I did.
Nothing further.
Okay.
I'm going to show you what I marked as defendant's exhibit 120. See if you can identify that. I'm sorry.
That's on my front porch. It's my daughter and her, at that time, boyfriend.
Who else is
Millie.
there? Where's your daughter now?
She is in custody at a facility in Swainsboro.
Your Honor, I would tender into the record defendant's exhibit 120 and ask to publish.
Judge, I would object to the relevance of this particular picture.
What is the relevance?
The relevance is, so I show the judge, if we may approach.
Okay.
Ms. Banks, do you recall when this picture was taken?
No, I don't.
Do you recall whether it was before or after the death of Layla?
She looks big enough for it to have been after. Is there a date on the back of the photo? Sometimes they print.
2/28/18. I don't think it's 15.
Yeah.
Take a look at.
Yeah, she's much bigger there. She's not 4 there. She's about 6 or 7. So that would have been after.
After the death. At this time, Your Honor, she would have been you would have been seeing her at that time.
Yes. She was either living with me or visiting me when they stopped by.
I would tender defendant's exhibit 120 into the record.
Judge, I still don't see the relevance.
Sustain the objection. Oh, is that a good stopping point?
Yes, Judge.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for a full day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock.